Hey, 5 ways to amp your web traffic and sell more HUD homes. Put it to work.
You bet.
And take a discussion that is actually specific to real estate and actually to a specific niche. I love it.
Well, the other thing that I really love about this topic is that, with especially the increase in online activity, it only really can go to make an agent's business so much easier by being able to do so much online. So we're going to talk today about, okay, how can you amp up that web traffic? So today, I'm Denise Lonis. I'm joined with Frances Flynn Thorsen, and we're going to be talking about 5 ways to amp your web traffic and how to sell more HUD homes. So Fran, let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on the web. Let's talk about who's using the web and why this is such an important call for agents today.
Okay, well, I think we know everybody's using the web, and NAR is still doing its profile of home buyers and sellers, and most people are starting on the web. We're looking at 90% plus for consumers who are using the internet to look for homes, and that's very, very significant. That's where people are looking. That's where we need to be, and how we structure our presence there is certainly, paramount in designing a path for success. By all means.
Well, I also think it's one of the areas that I find agents struggle with is figuring out how to actually use the web to, especially with HUD homes, because HUD homes is a very specialized niche part of the market. So, Fran, tell us a little bit about how an agent can go about doing that.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about 5 specific ways here, and of course, I'm a firm believer that the blog is the centerpiece of an agent's web presence, or anybody's web presence, and it is the centerpiece of a good web presence. Even though fewer than 5% of realtors right now are using blogs, blogs are the tool of choice, I believe, and they should be the center of gravity. That is the web tool that provides a place for interaction, that provides all kinds of functionality. Certainly, we're talking WordPress these days, and WordPress is definitely the tool of choice for people who are just getting started in blogging. And when we talk about working with HUD homes and using a blog online to reach consumers and have success, I think that we need to get past the notion that we just need to be sharing market stats or just need to be putting up copies of listings and just all of that stuff that's very, very product related. We need to do that, of course, but one of the more compelling things that we can do when we're online at a blog is to tell a story. Talk about what you're doing in the marketplace. Make it about you. People want to hear a story, especially if they have never met you, if they don't know who you are, if they haven't actually been in your car, if they haven't been seated next to you and don't have a flavor of your personality. What do you bring to the table in terms of your intelligence? What kind of discourse do you have to share with people? This is the kind of stuff that becomes evident on a blog. So I think it's a really neat idea to tell a story. People love to hear stories. It lets them learn about you. Lets them learn all about you and who you are. So do that. Talk about all kinds of things. When you have a success in the marketplace, when you have a really good transaction, that's something to talk about. But it's also a good idea to talk about some of the frustrations that you're having. And talk about the HUD homes. Talk about have a dialogue with people. If there are things that are working for you, that you're liking a lot, talk about it. If there are things in your marketplace that aren't working for you, talk about that too. People like to be part of success stories, and a lot of success stories have steps along that pathway to success that are frustrating, that are challenges, that pose other kinds of questions, and it's about the story. So when you have a blog, and when you're writing on a blog, what is the story you have to share? Besides the market stats, besides the listings of HUD homes, talk about the story and talk about what's happening with you with the HUD homes in your marketplace.
I agree with that 100%. I think one of the most important things that an agent can be writing about in their blog is what they're interpretation of the market is, because today's consumer is looking for a local area expert. They're looking for somebody that actually has a voice, someone who is going to be that expert and to give them information about the market. So what I see a lot of times, though, in a lot of the agents' blogs, I find that some of the topics that they're writing about really don't relate to their audience. And you have to be a little bit careful, because you have to ask yourself, who is my audience? And if your audience in your marketplace is buyers and sellers, then you really have to make sure that you target what you're writing about. And Fran is exactly right when she says people do love stories. They want to know about it. Talk about stories that you and maybe transactions that you've done that are success stories, or they're heartfelt stories, or they're challenging stories, or they are, successes and win stories, because all those things portray to the potential buyer and seller that you are human and that people are important to you and that you care about their stories. And I do agree with that very much, that storytelling in a blog is important. I also think that in your blog you have to be that expert, but you can portray the expert factor by telling stories. So if I was to be writing a blog today and I wanted people to know that I was an expert in the HUD Home market, then what I would do is I would be telling stories about that market. And I think that's very important. The other thing that you have to include, of course, is what's going on in the marketplace, as I said, from your perspective, because people are looking for your voice. When you hire someone, think about it yourself. Who do you hire? You hire someone that you like, someone that you think can do a great job for you, and oftentimes you hire someone that you can relate to. By telling stories, what you're doing is you are giving people an opportunity to relate to you. It's not just facts and figures and numbers. It's actually now you've got an opinion, you've got a voice, you've got ideas, and you're presenting those ideas, in a storytelling kind of way. So that's fabulous, fabulous advice. So Fran, what's the next thing that an agent needs to be thinking about?
Well, I'll talk about the next one in just a second, but I just want to get just one little more thought in about what we were just talking about, and that is that people want an expert, but if you're new to HUD Homes and you're in your first HUD Homes transaction, or things are new around that, that's okay to blog about that. People. Sure. Working with they'll know soon enough that this is the first deal that you're doing with a HUD Home. That's going to be real obvious. So be honest about where you're at with your level of expertise. Don't try to be an expert about something that you haven't done yet. Again, people want to be part of the success team. I remember my first HUD sale. It was very challenging. The buyer knew it was my first HUD sale. It was also my first 203K transaction. It was the lender's first 203K transaction. It was full of challenges, and lots of things went wrong, and that's okay in life, and it's really okay to just share that. I went on to sell numerous homes to that same buyer over the years, and that was, we would think about that first HUD Home that we did. We actually looked at another HUD Home after that several years later. Worry about portraying yourself as an expert or more expert, because people will appreciate the honesty.
I agree with that 100%. I actually really liked a blog that I read about a month ago where an agent was talking about all of the disasters that happened in a deal. And what he did is he really diarized it beautifully. And he talked about how this affected the buyer, how it affected him, how it affected the closing date. But after you read it, though, you kind of could say to yourself, I just learned something about that. I've just learned something here. So, share successes, also share frustration. The next step, the next thing that I know we're going to talk about, Fran, is the HUD Home of the Week. So explain a little bit about that.
Pick out a HUD Home that you would really like to sell, something that moves you in your market, and do something real special with it. Put it on your website or put it on your blog, put a bunch of information about it, do a virtual tour, do a video, do something, and highlight one home every single week. Maybe have it be a special blog post. And just talk about that. Make that happen on a given day. Maybe it's a Friday. Maybe it's a Monday. Whatever. But pick a HUD Home out. Have a link to it from your home page. Make it be something that people look forward to. You don't even have to have all the listings from the HUD market. Just pick one. It's a real easy thing to do. It makes it obvious that you are an active player in the HUD Homes market. It's something neat. People like to look at. Everybody loves to look at houses. They love to look at HUD Homes. And at some point in time, somebody will be calling you about it. But that's a good thing, just to be obvious, just to make it obvious to somebody. That doesn't take a lot of work. It's a few minutes, once a week, and that's something that can just have a real big impact and give you a presence in the market.
Excellent. One of the things that we used to do in our office is we used to put together almost like a little portfolio of the HUD homes of the week, and we would do this for, let's say, every quarterly basis. So we would kind of show people what had been in the market. And even though those were homes that had passed, it really gave people an idea of, why did we make that HUD home the choice that week? And just even the collection of that, I can't tell you how many people thought that was just one of the coolest things. And then they would say, well, these are really great picks. Clearly they're sold now. Do you have any other really great picks? So doing it, whether you are doing it, as a portfolio, whether you're showcasing it that week, it's just a great way, again, to let people know that this is an area of specialty for you, an area of interest. So let's talk now, Fran, about the virtual tour.
Yep, and a virtual tour is a collection of photographs or even a video with some information that lets people see what the house looks like outside from different perspectives, front yard, backyard, maybe the street up and down, the inside of the house. There are lots of real good things to concentrate on in a HUD home with a virtual tour. You may have some challenges. There may not be utilities. You may need to work with some special lighting. I used to carry big flashlights, those real big jobs, and sometimes I would shine it up on a ceiling if it was white and try to get a little bit more light into the room. So there may be some challenges shooting the interiors, but if you get a good shot of the kitchen, or a good shot, even if it's an ugly house that needs a lot of work, if it's in a good location, you can highlight those changes that can happen. You can talk about what you can do with a rehab loan. So don't worry about not shooting a house if it is in disrepair, because that gives you an opportunity to share your expertise about FHA 203K financing, which of course is the HUD rehab loan.
Excellent. And I think one of the things that I hear from agents a lot is, well, I don't know if I want to do a virtual tour because this house is a mess. But I think your point about, point that out. Point out the possibilities. I think that's a really great idea. Let's move on to number 3. The next point we want to cover is the bloginar. So let's talk a little bit about that, Fran.
I will, and that's my very own word. I came up with that a few years ago. I like to make new words. I like to add new words to the lexicon. And a bloginar is basically a seminar that you can have on your blog. So within a single blog post, you can have a video, you can have pictures, you can have a handout, so maybe create a PDF about a property or about home buying. You can talk about HUD home buying and exactly what's involved, and include a little how-to about how to buy HUD homes on your blog, and include a whole bunch of different types of information. You may want to do a little webinar. You may want to just create a PowerPoint, that you can use on SlideShare. All kinds of real good things. We've got these little bullet points here that we're talking about today, but Denise and I we're also going to be talking about these in much greater depth, much in the next several weeks, and then taking a lot of these points with some really good how-to. So a bloginar, again, my favorite kind of a bloginar has some some multimedia. It has a piece of video. It has a PDF handout, and it has a text narrative of all of the major points that you want to cover. So it has pretty much everything.
Excellent. Okay, so Fran, what's the next step?
Well, the next step is to be a leader. And by being a leader, I don't mean that you have to, assemble an army and go out and fight fight with anybody. When I say be a leader, we're talking about leadership and followers. This is a new words in the lexicon. Twitter, you have followers. Well, what does that make you if you have 1 million followers? It means that you are a leader in a sense. And in the social media space, the word leader is used to talk about somebody who is in the center of a conversation. So when you understand how conversations happen online and you understand the value of influence, you can create a lot of activity and a lot of traffic to your website. One of the things that happened, and I'll give you an idea of where I'm heading with this. Prior to 2010, and even now, a great deal of traffic and traffic generation really was in the search engines. It was about Google. It was about keywords. It was about using the right keywords, people buying pay-per-click, doing AdWords, and it was all about search. It was all about the search engines. Well, what happened last year, in fact, it happened on April 10th, 2010, the world of the Internet changed, and it will never be the same, because on that day in April 2010, Facebook released its like button, that little button that says, I like this. Well, they released that button to the rest of the world, to the Internet, so that web developers, bloggers, people who had websites could use that like button on their website. So here's what started to happen. People started to use that in great numbers. I mean, the numbers are just ridiculous. Those numbers with the millions and the billions and all of that. But what has happened as a result is that so many people are using that like button that the whole world of the whole Google world has been turned upside down, and all of those search engine algorithms are forever changed, and they're still changing. So what's happening now is that Google is not just measuring keywords. They're not just measuring keyword density. They're not just doing that anymore. They're measuring how much you, as a web surfer, how much you like things. They're weighing your influence. So when you publish something online, when you publish a blog post or you publish anything and you put it out there and it starts to get viral with like buttons and with all kinds of social media sharing, it gains weight in search with what's called influence. So when you understand the value of influence in that regard, you can be a leader, and actually in many cases, the value of influence will actually be greater than a corresponding value in keywords. And a search that may have been generated just with keywords, 2 years ago, would look much different today now that we're weighing in all of this like and all of this influence.
That's really a great, we don't think about it that way, Fran. We don't think about that. Agents are so used to doing things a certain way, and they've had to really change. The last year or two especially, things have really sped up online. So what I'm finding, even with myself, there's not a day that goes by where I can't learn something new. And now a big part of my business is education. I've got to go and learn these new things. I've got to be aware of trends. I've got to watch and see what are people, what are they interested in, and where are they going, and where are they interacting online. So I totally agree with this, things going viral and understanding the value of that like button. That's a great point. The final point we want to talk about is number 5, which is setting goals and how important it is to set the right goals. So I'd like you to share with us what your thoughts are on setting the right goals.
Sure. I think everything should be done with goals and everything should be done with targets, because the real estate business certainly, and in your business, Denise, how you measure. What are the benchmarks and the targets you work with in real estate?
Well, when I'm working with agents, one of the things that I always tell them is that if you don't have goals and if you don't have a plan, you probably are going to get somewhere. I mean, most people that just wander around, they wander somewhere, but it's a totally different end result when you've got a plan, you put that plan together, and especially in if we're talking about HUD Home specifically, one of the things that I want agents to think about is, okay, what are the goals you have in working with HUD Home? So if I'm talking to an agent that's never worked with HUD Homes ever, the first thing I want them to do is to learn about them, learn the language of HUD Homes, get educated, get certified, definitely through the certification program. But it's not okay just to take a course and get certified. The next thing you have to do is get out in the field. Get in the field and make it one of your goals that you are going to be the agent out there that as soon as a new HUD home comes on the market, right away you're out touring that new HUD home. You're going to make it a goal that you are going to know more than anybody else in the marketplace. You're going to make it a goal to change your advertising to include that. You might make it a goal that everything that you do online is going to include talking about HUD homes. You may then have a goal of, in 90 days I'm going to have my WordPress blog together, and it's going to be, a blog that is, specific to HUD homes. Another goal that you might have is, okay, when it comes to advertising, what are my HUD ads going to look like? And make sure that you use the right language. So the wonderful thing about number 5, setting the goals, is that it's so you're going to get where you want to go so much quicker if you sit down and you dissect it, just one puzzle piece at a time. What are all the things I need to do? What are the tasks I need to complete? The other thing is, if you do have a target, the nice part about having a goal and a target is it gives you almost like a straight line to that goal, as opposed to branching off in so many different directions. So I find that it's just such a time saver. I think so many agents waste so much time because they don't have goals. The other thing that I feel very strongly about is you can't just have a business plan or goals or a target and you sit down and on paper it looks good, but when you start to put it into practice it doesn't work. You have got to keep those goals and that target in front of you at all times. You also have to be able to make changes at all times. You've got to be flexible. If you're not flexible, then you're not going to reach those goals, that's for sure. So I think it's very, very important that you have goals, you set them, and you take it in little baby steps. Because the wonderful thing about HUD Homes is that, and what I have always, I've watched agents that have worked in my offices. I've watched agents that I've coached and trained. I've watched agents in the marketplace who aren't my clients, but I watch what they do. And it's kind of when you start off working with HUD Homes, it's like anything. It's new to you. The more experience you get, the more you do it, the better you get, the more confident you sound, and before you know it, you have named, claimed, and are participating in a really fantastic niche market. Fran, any final comments on number 5? Because then I want to talk about what are our next, what are the next calls about, and I want to give people dates on that. So what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts on number 5 are specifically related to web traffic. And if you have a website, if you have a blog, you need to know what your traffic is right now. How many unique visitors are you getting on a daily basis? How long are people staying on your website? What are the pages that attract them? That keep them there? Where are you losing them? And when you know what those numbers are, then you need to also set some goals there. Set some goals for increased readership. If you're getting 20 people a day on your blog, that's not a lot. You may want to think about what it's going to take to get it up to 100. What is it about? There are a lot of good bloggers getting 1,000 and more unique visitors every day. I remember my friend Lori Nanny back in 2006. Before she really knew what she was doing, she passed a comment, well, she was getting 4,000 unique visitors a day. Was that a lot? And of course it was a lot, especially back in 2004. And people thought she was making up a story, and there was a lot of hullabaloo, and it was actually confirmed. And here she was getting 4,000 unique visitors a day because just instinctively she knew what to do. She was telling stories. She was talking about properties. She was talking about her marketplace. So again, the website also needs to be a place where you need to have goals. Don't just leave it up to a webmaster. The neat thing about blogs is you can track it. You can track your progress. Google Analytics is a very, very easy tool to use. If you don't have goals online, then that's also something that needs to you put on your business plan so that you know what your traffic is and where your traffic needs to be. And then you need to work in some numbers and some conversion goals so that you can say, okay, so for every 100 unique visitors to my website, I'd like 10 of them to be responding with some kind of an email on a form or in some way, shape, or form. So you need some kind of conversion goals as well. So that would be my final thoughts about number 5.
Fabulous. Well, another great call. Let me share with you what we're going to be covering in the calls to come. On May 6th, we're going to be talking about sharing your HUD message on Facebook, and we're going to talk all about how you can do that. May 13th, putting your microblogging on steroids with Hootsuite, and that's one of my favorite dashboards. I love it, absolutely love it, Hootsuite. May 20th, Club HUD blog tips and tricks. Can't miss that one. May 27th, online and offline HUD seminar event planning. And that is really, when you start getting into the seminar event planning, you're really taking your HUD specialization to a whole new level. So the other question I have for anyone that is listening is if you have any questions, and if you just have something that you want to know, just let us know what it is you want to know. Send an email to either myself, Denise Lonis, and you can reach me at denise@thelonisgroup.com, and Fran Thorsen, you can reach her, Fran, at blogmilla.com, and you'll see also on the bottom of each of the slides our contact information. So thank you again for another great call. We look forward to sharing another message about HUD Homes on May 6th. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.